worried when it comes to that?
Let's go back to the 1913 anticipation of this great institution. Founders were sitting around the table. How would they did not say if the Fed were to be in the business of monetizing vast amounts of public and private debt, and they did not anticipate that foreign central banks would be absorbing trillions of dollars worth of greenbacks through the agency of our privilege as a reserve issuing currency country. And I think we have a picture of that outrage as well in our group of.
We should have you as a producer. You're cueing our control room.
But somewhere in the Bloomberg archive is a picture that ends in 3.4 million. They keep going. This is the leverage of the New York Federal Reserve Bank. This is the graph, or that handsome fellow is blocking the graph that ends in number 3.4 trillion, and that is the sum of treasuries and agencies held in custody for the account of foreign central banks. That mouthful means that the U.S., consuming much more than it produces, pays its bills in dollars. These dollars wind up in the balance sheets of foreign central banks. Remember, the AIG got into trouble because it never settled its accounts in these exotic derivatives, right? It never had to pay cash and receive cash for its mark-to-market positions. Similarly with the U.S., we run deficits we have for 25 consecutive years. We never settle up. Settling up was part and parcel of classical central banking. We have abandoned that. So, again, the Fed ought to come out today and say, now that you mention it, Jim, we do owe the world an apology.
Well, we're probably more likely to get some insight into how the economy's improved or not. Right.
Okay, there's a plan B in
Well, we're going to take a real quick break so we can let you lay out plan B there. We've got to pay for our airtime here. Back in a moment, more with Jim Grant.
The real world affects the financial markets. Take some time and get informed. The countdown to the close of the European markets is sponsored by IG Index. Get thinking.
Coming up in just a few minutes' time, he's juggling the euro, bailouts, and the possibility of default in Europe. No other central banker has as many national leaders to deal with. That's European Central Bank's Jean-Claude Trichet. He will be right here on Bloomberg, first on interview with one of the most powerful central bankers in the world. So stay tuned for that. Right now, you're back in business with Jim Grant, editor of Grant's Interest Rate Observer. And Jim, we got the headline today from the CBO that the deficit's going to climb from 1.3 up to $1.5 trillion this year. Treasury Secretary Geithner says you got till the end of March to up the debt ceiling because we're looking at real problems in the credit markets. What's your read on the reality?
Well, the underlying trouble with our public finances is that they are so easily financed. This country enjoys the exquisite privilege of having a credit card nobody else does. It's called the reserve currency, namely the greenback. Now, we can issue these. We're the only country that can do so lawfully. Other countries take these dollars more or less gratefully. They wind up new these dollars on the balance sheets of our creditor central banks, China and Japan principally. To absorb dollars, these foreign countries print local currency. Some of them they raise in so-called sterilization, but mainly they don't. The effect of all this is a great uplift of liquidity worldwide. It's inflationary. It's inflationary for stocks or bonds or stuff, depending on the cycle.
The Brazilians have said, no thanks.
Yeah.
Chinese indicated they're not.
Imagine which country in the world wouldn't run these enormous deficits if they could be financed not only without tears, but also with smiles. If Paraguay could print, if the Paraguayan dinar, if that's what it is, were acceptable globally, Paraguay would be sitting in a pretty fat position.
And you're advocating a return to the gold standard.
I am indeed. It's the only way that balance of payments can be equalized. It's the only proven and efficacious approach to dealing with our problems.
But doesn't that give less flexibility to central banks?
Yes.
Why was abandoned in the first place?
Well, it was abandoned for many reasons, but I'm all for giving these central bankers less flexibility. Jean-Claude Trichet ought not to be such a powerful figure. In days of yore, the central bankers were subordinated to a kind of rule of law in monetary affairs called the gold standard, and it was a price mechanism and not an arbitrary set of decisions by human beings appointed by governments. Believe me, I was there.
Well, but one of the reasons it was abandoned too, the reason that the flexibility was needed because of times of extreme duress, like the crisis we just went through. And
well, the duress,
arguably,
is
that's why they did it.
In good part, the result of policies that could not have been undertaken in a better ordered monetary system. Human beings are always going to have panics. They always have depressions. They always have business cycles. This time is something special. Without the GDP so much as really, really going down, as we used to know, really going down, the entire financial system came close to collapse. Now, how did that happen? What is it in our monetary and financial structure that pushed us to the precipice with so little evident pretext? That's the issue. That's the issue.
Well, it's an idea. We'll see if it gains any traction. We're going to stay tuned.
Well, let me know when if somebody wants me to come and run the gold standard.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yo,